Okay, welcome back. In this video, I wanted to look at how to solve different application problems using specific formulas. So the way you have to do that is when you read your problem, you have to be able to identify or know which type of formula you have to use. Once you figure out which formula you have to use, it's then very easy to substitute the variables that you know and then leave behind the one you're trying to solve for. Once you do that, all you have to do is essentially solve for the missing variable and you're done. So in order to get there, we actually have to know some of these different formulas here. So first and foremost, we have what's called area of a parallelogram. So that is found by area equals base times height. When we talk about area of a rectangle, for a rectangle we are talking about length times width. These two formulas do look almost identical, but there is one big difference. A rectangle has 90-degree sides, whereas a parallelogram is essentially pushed, it's slanted. So base and height have a slightly different meaning. When we talk about area of a trapezoid, one of the easiest equations to use is 1/2 a plus b times your height, where a and b are going to be the lengths of your two parallel sides. When we talk about the perimeter of a triangle, we are talking about P equals A plus B plus C, because a triangle has three sides. Whereas a perimeter of a rectangle is going to be twice your width plus twice the length, because a rectangle has two sets of parallel lines, therefore there's two lengths and two widths. Okay? Now, another couple of equations that might have to be used are the circumference of a circle. So your circumference is going to be 2 pi r, or temperature conversions. And one such temperature we look at is that degrees Celsius is going to be 5/9 times your degree Fahrenheit minus 32. And so when we're working with these formulas, I'm sorry, I actually think that's plus 32. When we're working with these formulas, one of the things that we have to be able to do is we have to be able to read what it is we have and then use the information accordingly. Okay? So here we have, if an object is shot upwards with an initial velocity of v0 in feet per second, the velocity v in feet per second is given by the formula v equals v0 minus 32t. So in this one, we're giving you a formula, and it says where t is the time in seconds, an object projected upwards with initial velocity of 100 feet per second has a velocity of 42 feet per second. How many seconds have passed? Okay, so that's a lot of information, so we have to look at what exactly do we have, or what exactly have we been told. So here we're told that your initial velocity is 106 feet per second. We have also been told that your final velocity is 42 feet per second. So here we have to simply use our equation. So we have v is equal to v0 minus 32t. The only pieces of information we've been given are v and v0. Therefore, it means the part that we are solving for is t. That's the piece that we don't know. So here we're going to plug in our information. So we have 42 is equal to 106 minus 32t. We have to simply solve for t. So the first thing we got to do is take this 106 and move it over. So we've got 42. Because the 106 is positive, it means we have to subtract. So we have 42 minus 106 is going to give us negative 64 equals a negative 32t. I need to divide everything by 32, so this is negative 64 over negative 32 equals t. And because we're talking about time, we're talking about seconds. So we have 64 divided by 32, and in this case it comes out to being 2 seconds is equal to t. Alright, so now we have the length of the rectangle is 24 centimeters and the perimeter is 56 centimeters. Find the width. So the first thing we have to do is we have to be able to identify which formula we have to use. Well, the key right here is that we're talking about a perimeter and my shape is a rectangle. Therefore, I know that perimeter is equal to twice the length plus twice the width. Okay? In knowing that, I now have to plug in the information that I've been given. So I'm told that the length of a rectangle is 24 centimeters. So I know that L equals 24 centimeters. I also know that the width, or that the perimeter, is 56. So I know my perimeter is 56 centimeters. The question wants to find the width. So when we're looking at which of my formula or which of my variables here I need to find, I'm looking for the width. So here I need to plug in my information. So I have that 56 is equal to twice the length plus twice the width. So first and foremost, I have 2 times 24. So here I've got that 56 is equal to 48 plus 2w. I need to take this 48 here and I need to move it. So in order to do that, because it is positive, to move it says I subtract. So 56 minus 48 is going to give me 8 equals twice the width. I need to divide everything by 2. So here we get that 4 centimeters equals the width. Okay. Alright, so let's look at another one here. So here we have that the temperature in Savannah is going to be 76 degrees. And it says, what is the temperature in Celsius? And we have to round to the nearest tenth. So in order to answer that, again, we have to remember what your degree Celsius, or how to find transfers between Celsius and Fahrenheit. And so we need to go back to the formula that we had. Sorry, I needed a drink of water here. Alright, so in going back to the formula that we have, we need to remember that my degree Celsius is going to be 5 over 9 times my degrees Fahrenheit minus 32 degrees. So we have to look at what do we know. Well, we've been given degrees Fahrenheit. So we know my Celsius is going to be 5 over 9 times 76 minus the 32. So here, work inside your parentheses first, so you need to do this math before you do anything else. So my degrees Celsius is going to be that 5 over 9, and then it's going to be times, and we have 76 minus 32 gives you 44. So we're going to take 44 times 5, which is going to give me 220 divided by 9. So then we can divide that by 9, and we're going to end up with my degrees Celsius was 24.4. Okay. So again, it comes down to being able to know the formula you have to use and then solving what you need from there. Okay. Now the next one says the total amount of money in an account with P dollars is invested, and it is given by the formula A equals P plus PRT, where R is the rate and T is the time. How long will it take an investment of $600 at an annual rate of 5% to be worth $615? So we have the formula A equals P plus PRT. And so here we need to know what's going on. Well, A is going to be the total amount. P is going to be what you put in. R is obviously again your rate, and T is going to be your time. So here we have to look at what do we know. Well, we know the total amount is going to be what is it worth, so 615. What did we put in? Well, that's what we invested, 600. The rate is going to be 5%, which you need to convert to a decimal. So as a quick reminder, if you are in percentage, converting to a decimal says divide by 100. So here you're going to have 5% divided by 100% is going to give you 0.05 as your decimal. And then the time in this case is the unknown. So we have to plug in the information that we have and solve for the unknown. So I have A, so 615 is equal to 600 plus, and then I have 600 times 0.05 times T. So here the first thing that we could do is we would take this 600 and we would move it over. Because it's being added or is positive, to move it says we have to subtract. 600 minus, or 615 minus 600 leaves us with 15. And then we're going to have 600 times the 0.05 and T. Now here we have to do 600 times 0.05, and that gives us a result of 30. So here I have 15 is equal to 30 T. Divide everything by 30, so I have 15 over 30 equals T. And in this case, 15 over 30 is going to reduce to 1/2. Okay. So in this sense, we're talking about 1/2. So most of the time t would be representative of years. So 1/2 would be the same as thinking about 6 months. Okay, because 6 months is half a year. Alright, let's look at another one. So for this one, or says for the following examples, using the simple interest, we're going to use the formula I equals PRT. And it's really important that we are going to assume 360 days in a year and 30 days each month. Okay? So you got to pay very close attention. Sometimes your problems are going to give you an assumption, sometimes they won't. Okay? So in this case, it says, for how many days must you leave $1,000 in a savings account at 5.5% to earn $11 in interest? So we know I stands for interest. I've got P is again going to stand for what you put in. R is going to stand for rate. And T is going to be time. So in this case, what do we know? Well, we know my interest should be $11. What we put in was $1,000. The rate is 5.5%. So again, divide by 100 and we get 0.055. And the time is the unknown piece. So we have I equals PRT. So 11 is equal to 1,000 times 0.055 times T. So 1,000 times 0.055 gives you 11 is equal to 55 T. So here we're going to go ahead and divide. So this becomes 11 over 55 is equal to T. Well, 11 over 55 is going to be the same as 0.2. Now we need to know how many days, because that's what the question was asking. For how many days? So the way we figure that out is we know that to find my number of days says I have to take this, which is years. So I have 0.2 years. I have to multiply this by 360 days per year to give me the number of days. So this gives me 72 days. Now the second one says, after 30 days, Gustav receives $25 in simple interest on his savings account of $12,000. What was his interest rate? So here we know I is interest, and we know it equals PRT. In this case, we know the P is going to be the 12,000. We know the interest was $25, and we know the time is going to be 30 days. Well, in terms of time, the first thing that we have to do is you have to convert days to years. So the way we do that is we take our 30 days and we multiply it by 1 month per that 30 days. We multiply that by 1 year per 12 months. And that is going to give us 1/12 of a year. Okay? So that's what we have to use. So the next thing that we have to do is we have to solve for r, because that is the variable that we are looking for. We want to know what was the interest rate. So r is here in the middle of our problem. So this means to solve for r, we have that r is going to be I divided by pt. So we can simply start plugging in. My interest is $25. My P was $12,000, and my time was 1/12. So this should give you a decimal answer. So here you go ahead and plug everything into your calculator. You should come out with 0.025. Once you get your decimal, the last thing that you have to do is you have to convert to a percentage. So if going from percentage to decimal means divide by 100, to convert means you have to multiply by that 100%. So here we're going to take 0.025 and we are going to multiply it by 100%, which is going to give me a rate of 2.5%. And this was what we were looking for. Alright, the last type of problem that you may see looks like this one, where it says that you have the top of the line computer company knows that the cost of labor and materials of producing a computer is $325 per computer per week, and the fixed overhead cost, which is lighting, rent, and etc., is $5,400 per week. And we have to write a formula for the company's weekly cost of producing n computers per week. So what do we know? Well, we know that total cost is going to equal your computer plus your fixed overhead. Well, we know your computer is going to be $325 per computer per week, and we have n computers. My fixed cost is $5,400 per week. And if you're wondering where the n comes from, it's right here in my problem where we're talking about n computers. So here, this is my total cost in terms of a formula, and this is what you would be looking for. Now the second part says if the computers are sold for $683 each, write a formula. So all we're doing is writing the formula for the profit per week if it sells the same number n that it produces. So here we have PRC, so P is profit, R is revenue, and C is cost. Well, we just calculated total cost up at the top. So here, my profit is going to be my revenue, which is what it sells for. So we have $683 per computer. And we have to subtract away that total cost, which your total cost is up here, which is $325 per computer plus the $5,400. Now all we wanted to do was state the equation. We do not need to solve, so this is where you would stop. And here the reason why we can't really solve is because, one, we don't know what n is, and we don't know what p is. In order to solve, you have to only be missing one variable. Here you're missing two of them. However, this is an equation that we could use, therefore that's what you needed to do. Now, in some instances, some students like to say, okay, but wait a second, I can distribute this negative through and simplify it actually down a little bit further. However, we were just simply looking for how to find your profit, and so this is the baseline equation that we would be working with. Okay. So in a nutshell, that's kind of everything that you would need to know about working with formulas and how it relates to application problems. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, keep smiling, have lots of fun, remember to always relax, and as always, I'll see you next time.